So I just got back from watching Supergirl, the second major movie in the new DCU run by James Gunn. And as this movie was about to come out, we started seeing the reviews, and a lot of them were very mixed. And of course, this got me pretty worried, especially considering it started with like a 59 on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's only dropped a couple points since then. So yeah, I walked in with a lot of cautious, pretty low expectations for this one, which is pretty unfortunate because I'm rooting for the DCU. I want DC Comics to be the big thing, right? Because I enjoy DC Comics more than Marvel, more than Star Wars, more than a lot of other franchises out there. I think DC has the better characters, the better stories. Unfortunately, they just have not managed to really kick off stuff in live action, at least outside of like a couple of Superman movies and a bunch of Batman movies. They just haven't managed to really make it work. So this being the second movie, I know there's been a couple TV shows, but really the second major project in the new DCU, I had hoped that this would be a major push forward, you know, that we would see kind of the beginnings of what this franchise is ultimately going to become, especially a movie that was not written and not directed by James Gunn. You know, we'd start to see like, all right, what is this universe, right? Because we've only really gotten that one movie and Peacemaker, or season 2 of Peacemaker. So I'm gonna start with some good stuff. Okay, first, look, Millie Alcock as Supergirl, really relatable, really enjoyable. You know, she's got that kind of edgy, like, oh, I've been through a lot of trauma stuff, and but you know, she's good at the quips, you know, and she's good at the action, and she's good at, you know, feeling vulnerable but also feeling strong. And you know, I feel like she's gonna be a really enjoyable part for a lot of people. Like, she works as Supergirl, the character. Okay, Jason Momoa as Lobo. What we see of him, which is only like kind of sporadic moments throughout the movie, what we see of him is kind of exactly what you would expect from Jason Momoa. He's mostly playing himself with maybe a little bit more of an edge. He's Lobo. He's exactly kind of like, if you've seen the 90s animated Superman, you know who Lobo is. You kind of know what to expect. And that's what we get here. We get Jason Momoa's version of Lobo. It works. In fact, I think in an R-rated project, it would work very well. You know, you would have a sort of Deadpool type character who would kill a bunch of people and there'd be blood everywhere, and that could work as a project. I can see that happening down the road. Jason Momoa getting a solo Lobo movie. But in any case, I get to the negatives. Okay, so first off, this movie is what I would call a much more dour film. You know, it takes itself a little bit more seriously than Superman did. There's not quite as many jokes. We don't have as many comedic characters running around. Even with Lobo popping up every once in a while, it feels like that was kind of a desperate attempt to lighten the mood a little bit, because this movie is about trauma, and it's about revenge, and it's about grief, and it's, you know, it's kind of stuff that we've seen a lot of movies kind of do before, and it's happening here too. I think this being such a serious movie, I don't know. I don't know if I really ever bought into it, especially because the main conflict here, this other girl who watches her family get killed by these marauders in space, she wants revenge, and that is what the plot is. That's the whole plot, is that she wants revenge. Now, there's sort of a side-going plot where Crypto is hurt by those same bad guys, and so this helps convince Supergirl to get involved in her conflict and her quest for revenge. And I think it really just comes down to, do you ever at any point really care about this girl and her quest for revenge? You only ever meet her family for one scene, and then they die, and I don't know. I never felt like I cared, you know, and that's kind of a big deal, is that if you don't care about her quest for revenge and her character and like everything that's going on here, and granted, there are some parallels between her and Supergirl, and so Supergirl's kind of living through this with this girl of like a moment of grief that she had not too long ago. But I don't know. It just never really captured me. Like I never like felt anything. I didn't feel sad really. it was just kind of a, okay, this character wants revenge. I've seen a lot of sci-fi slash superhero movies where some side character that you just met is like, I'm doing this for revenge. It reminded me of Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy. It reminded me of Drax, where I'm like, okay, Drax wants revenge on Thanos, but that's never really... It's only addressed sparsely, and it never really becomes that important to the overall plot of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. But imagine if Drax's quest for revenge was the main plot that everyone was after. It's, you know, like that was what's driving the movie. It doesn't quite work as well, does it, right? And the same thing with Krypto being hurt. First off, again, Guardians of the Galaxy, like, that is exactly what happened to Rocket all throughout the third movie. And Krypto is in the exact same position. He's gone for the majority of the movie. He gets hurt early on. He's basically just stuck in a hospital, and the whole movie is a quest to cure him, and he gets better at the end, you know. And it and so again, it feels like this is so recent to Guardians 3. Like, that was only a couple years ago, and so it feels like we just did this, you know. And I know different franchises, but you can't help but notice, like, a movie very similar to this one did the exact same plot only a handful of years ago. So, you know, like, I can't help but notice that. And also the fact that in Superman, Krypto was taken and he was, like, gone for the entire middle part of the movie, and they had to get him back. And yet again, Krypto is injured by the bad guys this time, and now they got to try and save him. And I'm like, can we leave the dog alone? Like, it feels like we just, like, Krypto's only in these movies to be the thing that the audience cares about because he's a dog. And I'm like, let him be a dog. Let him be funny. Let him do his thing. Stop kidnapping him. Stop injuring him. Like stop using him as a plot device just to move the things forward. There's other things you can use. So I think the actual, like, plot of what we're doing here, this quest for revenge and Krypto being injured, I was not invested in either of those because, you know, at no point do you really believe that Krypto's going to get, like, killed in this movie. Like, you know that's not really going to happen. And I also don't care about this girl's quest for revenge, so what is the core of the story that I'm supposed to care about here? You know, what I found most interesting was actually Supergirl's backstory and all those segments of Krypton and how her you know, city lifted away from Krypton and survived the initial explosion only to get kryptonite poisoning later. And I'm like, oh, that's so much more interesting than what all this other stuff is. The other unfortunate thing, this is another pretty big negative, the villain of this movie, or villains, I guess, it is essentially just a biker gang in space. And the main villain is just a guy who has a lot of piercings on his face, and he's basically just a Mad Max biker guy. And that's it. Like, he does not look cool or threatening in any way. He tries to do sort of the goofy Joker, like, oh, I'm crazy and evil kind of thing. You know, he makes his little jokes and his little clips while he's killing people, but you feel like you've seen this 1,000 times before. There's nothing rememberable at all about this villain. You're going to forget about him entirely. You're going to forget his name, for sure. So that's kind of another major negative, is that you don't remember the villain. You don't care about why we're doing this. You care about Krypto the dog, but you don't, you know, you're kind of tired of Krypto being used as this, like, time clock plot device to move the plot forward. You know, you're like, leave Krypto alone. Like, so I don't know. I think I like the characters in this movie, and there's action moments in this movie that I'm like, oh, that was a cool scene, and that over there was a cool scene, and the flashbacks were cool, and seeing her fall on Earth, and like, I kind of would have rather had a movie showing how she landed on Earth and had to adapt to Earth, and Superman shows her around Metropolis. Like, that feels like that would have been much better, instead of this kind of, like, space globe-trotting adventure with this other story we just don't care about. So, unfortunate to say, this movie is just okay. it's like, it's not even horrible in any kind of way. Like the plot that I just described, like, okay, it's a serviceable plot, but this is like a first draft, you know? Like, you got to add stuff on top of this to make it more interesting. You got to have a more interesting bad guy, you know? You got to have some other time clock more interesting than just, oh, they hurt Crypto again. Like, leave the damn dog alone, okay? People don't want to, because at this point, if Crypto's in a third movie, is anyone going to trust that Crypto's not going to be used as another plot device again? Like, leave the damn dog alone. Let him be a super dog, okay? Just stop. So, unfortunately, it's fine. It's just okay. I did have some other thoughts, though. You know, first off, is this going to hurt the future of the DCU? Like, we have, of course, the big merger coming up. Paramount is buying Warner Brothers, and everyone's questioning if James Gunn is even going to be around for the next series of movies, because there's a lot of things that, you know, aren't going to line up between James Gunn and Paramount and the Ellisons and all of that stuff. So is that all in danger now? Like, are we under threat of all of this being erased anyways? I think that, you know, we have a cloud looming over all this, and that's very unfortunate that it's just one more thing that is kind of bring this movie down, is that we have that cloud to think about too. You know, at least for people like us who are online all the time. I think the other thing is that as a DC fan, you know, look, I have not read the comic that this is based on. I fully acknowledge this is based on a very specific comic, and it's adapting that story, and these are, you know, this is how it was in that comic. So fine, okay, but I'm talking about the movie here. This movie would have been better if it tried to interconnect with the future of the franchise and expand the universe. And what I mean by that is have things show up here that might get mentioned later, or at the very least are like little nods to the bigger version of the universe. For example, the thought I had was, okay, so these marauders are going from planet to planet, kidnapping girls. You know who would probably have something to say about that? Whatever the local system Green Lantern was. Because I don't know if you guys know this, in the DC universe, every star system has their own assigned Green Lantern, okay? So, like, the Green Lantern patrols their own little section of space, and there's thousands of Green Lanterns. So, they wouldn't even all be humans. There's just many, many different alien species of Green Lanterns out there. So, you could have the Green Lantern TV show that's coming out later this year. You have the fucking Guy Gardner who showed up in Superman. And now you can have a different Green Lantern show up here who, you know, maybe even just briefly tries to stop the Marauders because he's like, hey, I'm patrolling this section and you're a criminal gang going around kidnapping girls. So it feels like a Green Lantern would have something to say about this. But, you know, like that feels like it would have been an easy thing to do. So instead of having Lobo here being this bounty hunter who just keeps showing up every 20 minutes, have a Green Lantern show up instead, because then you have all this interconnecting between stuff that we're already building out. You know, when that TV show comes out later in the year, people would go like, oh, it's another Green Lantern, like the one we saw in the Supergirl movie and the one we saw in the Superman movie. The Green Lanterns are everywhere, you know, like that would have been a cool thing, I think. And also the villain. Instead of the villain just being this biker guy who you're going to forget about, why not make it any number of alien bad guys that exist in the DC universe? You know, anyone who could maybe come back later, maybe one day be more interesting, and this is just like a first introduction. Like, just for example, and I know I'm bringing it back to the Green Lanterns, but Atrocitus. You have Atrocitus in space somewhere. So Atrocitus starts out as some sort of weird blood cult type ritual guy, and then only later does he get the red lantern and the red ring, and he starts the Red Lantern Corps and becomes like a major Green Lantern villain. So this could have been his introduction. He could have started off as just like this weird blood ritual guy, and then he kills this girl's parents, and then that he could have been the main villain of this movie, you know. And then instead of spoilers, again, or for real, spoilers. I think this is going to be a talking point later, but I'm going to bring this up. So, spoilers. At the end of this movie, Supergirl ends up killing the main villain, the main biker guy. So in my version, Atrocitus would not die because he has to become the Red Lantern one day. But anyways, I'm just saying that any level of interconnectivity between what you're trying to build out, because we're so early in this universe, we're so early in this brand new reboot of a universe, that you need to put in the work to like expand things and try to explain what the rules are and what things are, you know, like you have movies to do that. But this Supergirl movie felt so standalone. It doesn't connect to anything, it doesn't set anything up. It's just a whole standalone adventure that it feels like won't end up mattering that much. Like the only significant thing you get out of here is the introduction of Lobo and the backstory of Supergirl. Other than that, like the actual main plot that we're following, it doesn't feel like it matters in any kind of way, and it probably won't ever. And that sucks. So yeah, anyways, that's my rant about Supergirl. It's fine. It's a fine movie. In fact, I think if you're just looking for an action movie to go watch in theaters right now and you want to see another superhero movie, well, this is another one. It's fine. I'm just disappointed. I think that's my biggest thing, is this does not feel like we are moving the universe forward. And we're only on movie number 2, so we need to be moving forward. You know, if you want standalone adventures where it's just about this character's journey and it's just this one kind of thing they went on, you can do that later. You know what? You can do that on an HBO show or something. Like right now, we need to be building what's happening in space. What is magic? What is, you know, what's happening in Gotham? What's happening, you know, like that kind of stuff, right? And now I'm kind of, to be honest, I'm even more worried for Clayface, because Clayface is coming out in October, I think, and it is a DCU movie. It's connected to this whole universe, but James Gunn has not yet cast a Batman. There's no Batman in this universe, at least not to speak of, at least not that anyone knows. So we are assuming that this Clayface movie is happening at the end of the year, and there's no Batman involved in this movie at all. And while that's not like an impossible thing to do, it does kind of give off the vibe of the Sony villain verse, right? The Morbiuses, right? Where like, oh, we're gonna do movies involving the villains, but the main hero, you know, Spider-Man, the person that they're involved with, is just not there. And that's kind of what Clayface feels like. I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt, but that's my worst fear, is that Clayface is essentially a Morbius, you know, or a Kraven the Hunter, where it's like, hey, this person is basically it's a villain. It's a villain of the week. It's a side character. It's not really meant to carry a whole movie. And if you don't even have a Batman cast, then you're not gonna expand the you know, you're not actually gonna like explore this lived-in superhero universe either, because you don't have a Batman to show, right? That's my fear, at least. I'm hoping that if we don't have a cast Batman, at the very least, we will have some kind of silhouette, or at least like the acknowledgement that a Batman is in this exact same city where this Clayface guy is doing stuff. That's my hope. Anyways, so Supergirl, ultimately disappointing. It's just okay. It's fine. A lot of it feels very generic, like you've seen it before, and even the couple bright spots and the couple characters that you really do enjoy, it feels like they're going to be better served in a different movie, a better movie, some other time. Hopefully, if they're still making them. That really sucks to say. Like, I wanted this movie to be so good, but to be honest, with these reviews and the fact that it's being completely overshadowed by Spider-Man, and then later Avengers and the Odyssey and Doomsday and all of these like really major tentpole movies, Supergirl was just not, it was not being marketed, and honestly it's not probably anywhere close to as good as those movies probably will be. So that sucks to say, and I really didn't want to have to say that, but here we are. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about Supergirl and the future of the DC universe. Oh man, I really wish this movie was better. Anyways, bye.